Let me tell you something. If you told me a year ago that I'd become the main event in the wildest neighborhood circus this side of the Mississippi, I'd have laughed you right off my porch. But there I was, heart hammering, voice raw from yelling, standing smack in the middle of my own yard while Karen, yeah, that Karen sat trapped in her shiny black SUV behind a brand new steel fence I'd just finished putting up the night before, honking like she was auditioning for a demolition derby and threatening to sue me so loud the squirrels 2 blocks over probably flinched. It wasn't just her either. No, the whole cast had turned out the HOA president, yapping about bylaws he clearly hadn't read. 2 police officers who looked like they were wondering what life decisions led them to mediate grown folks fighting over turf, and half the neighborhood on their front lawns filming on their phones like it was pay-per-view. You know that feeling when you realize this is about to go viral. Yeah, that was me, right there in my once peaceful slice of suburbia that had turned into ground zero for an HOA meltdown. And as Karen floored it like she might actually try to bust through my fence, all I could think was, you started this war, lady, and now you're finally going to see how it feels. But before you start thinking I'm some kind of suburban Rambo, let me back up a sec. Because the truth is, I moved here for the quiet. 10 years of saving every penny for this house, dreaming of BBQs on Saturdays, maybe a hammock under the trees, just peace, nothing fancy. The yard was my pride and joy, fresh sod, perfect lines, greener than an Irish spring morning. And for about 24 hours, I really believed I'd made it. Then came Karen Hurricane Force, barreling her SUV right across my lawn like it was her own personal shortcut. First morning, I'm standing there, cup of coffee, halfway to my lips, watching her rip 2 black lines through my new grass. No wave, no oops, sorry, just music blasting, an attitude cranked to max. I figured, okay, bad day, maybe she's lost, right. Wrong. Next morning, same thing. Day after again. By Friday, those tire tracks were basically a new feature on Google Maps. So finally, I stepped out, flagged her down, and tried being neighborly, told her, hey, this is my yard. I'd really appreciate it if you'd just stay on the road. She smirked, oh man, that smirk, and said, sweetheart, HOA rules say right of way. Maybe next time pick a house with no lawn if you don't want it driven over. Window up, wheels spinning, and I swear she aimed for the same patch just to make the point. Ever see an adult act like a cartoon villain? Welcome to my world. And it just kept going. Every complaint I made, she twisted the rules. She was the HOA, at least in her own mind. Every meeting, she'd trot out a new bylaw, always in her favor. Cops said it was civil. HOA president shrugged. Meanwhile, Karen would double down, engine louder, angles sharper, even cutting across when my family was visiting just to humiliate me. One night, her SUV was parked half on my grass, mud everywhere. When I confronted her, she laughed. It's just grass. Yeah, right. Something in me snapped. I realized polite wasn't working, and this wasn't ending with a letter in her mailbox. What she didn't see coming, I'd had enough. Next morning, after another night staring at the ceiling, I drove 2 towns over, bought steel spikes, gloves, wood, the works. Spent that night digging, sweating, setting those spikes just beneath the soil, right where her tires always landed. Covered them up, made it all look normal, felt for the first time like maybe I had a fighting chance. Dawn, coffee cold in my hands. I waited. Sure enough, that SUV came barreling around the corner. She even sped up. Bang, her front tire hit those spikes. Sounded like a shotgun. Sparks smoked the whole 9 yards. She exploded, screaming, cursing, pounding the wheel while neighbors poured out laughing, filming, whispering. I stood on my porch. Karen, maybe if you'd stayed on the street, this wouldn't have happened. The cops showed up, but all they did was tell her it was my property, and unless she could prove I'd set a trap, there was nothing they could do. She stormed off her car on a tow truck, her reputation bruised, and for a second, I actually felt bad. Just a second. Except Karen wasn't done. The next day, a violation notice on my door: unsafe landscaping, HOA fines pending mandatory meeting, or else. I could picture her cackling, thinking she'd turned the tables. But at this point, I wasn't just defending a lawn, I was fighting for my sanity. So I started digging social media, old newsletters, complaints from past neighbors. Turned out, Karen had a long history of running things her way, making up rules, bullying anyone who didn't fall in line. I documented everything, set up cameras, collected every violation. And then, with the help of an old college friend who owed me a favor, I got my hands on some questionable HOA financials, missing funds, weirdly overpriced projects, all connected to Karen and her buddies. It wasn't just a feud anymore. It was corruption. The more she pushed, the more determined I got. My mailbox was the wrong color porch light, too bright. Even my lawn gnome was offensive. It would have been funny if it wasn't exhausting. But all those notices, evidence, baby. And the more she tried to turn the neighbors against me, the more they started coming to me in secret, sharing their own Karen horror stories. That's when I knew taking her down wouldn't just be for me. It'd be for everyone she'd ever bullied. So I got creative. Hired a surveyor, a friend of my dad's, to mark the property lines down to the inch. No more arguing. Then I called up my construction buddy Dave. We built a fence, quick install, heavy steel, designed to go up in a couple hours, strong enough to hold a rhino, let alone a rampaging Karen. Timing was everything. One night after I heard her bragging she'd park right on his lawn, Dave and I set the trap. Next morning, right on schedule, Karen came tearing across my yard. Before she could even step out, we swung the last panels shut, locked them, and caged her SUV right in the middle of my grass. She lost it, screaming, pounding, honking, while the neighbors filmed some clapping, a few even cheering. For once, the whole street saw the truth. The HOA president tried to get involved, waving his arms, barking about rules, until I showed him the survey papers and video evidence. Suddenly, he looked like he wanted to crawl under a rock. Cops arrived, saw the footage, saw the survey, shrugged. "Ma'am, looks like you're the one in the wrong." Karen flipped out, swore she'd sue everybody, but the crowd just laughed. By lunch, the videos were everywhere online, Lawn Karen trending. People started sharing their own stories, demanding HOA transparency, and just like that, Karen's empire began to crumble. She tried suing me, emotional distress, entrapment, the works. My lawyer, Lydia, took one look and grinned. "We're gonna bury her." At the hearing, Lydia played every video, showed every phony violation, and dropped the receipts on missing HOA funds. The judge tossed out Karen's case, ordered her to pay damages, legal fees, even repay the HOA. The look on Karen's face, priceless. Her SUV got repossessed, HOA stripped her title, and suddenly nobody was scared of her anymore. But even then, Karen tried for one last pathetic revenge, caught on camera, sneaking onto my lawn at night, trying to stage some sabotage, only to get blasted by the sprinklers and slip in the mud. That video viral again. Within a week, a for sale sign went up on her lawn. The neighborhood threw a party when the moving truck pulled away. Now my lawn is green, my hammock's up. The neighbors wave, and peace finally settled over our street. It wasn't just about grass. It was about respect, about standing up to bullies, and reminding everyone, even the big loud ones in SUVs, there's a line you just don't cross. And as I sat on my porch that last night, cool breeze blowing, I realized sometimes the only way to deal with a tyrant is to show them you're not afraid to fight for what's right. So what would you have done in my shoes? Would you have fought back or just let it go? Because if you ask me, justice tastes a whole lot sweeter when you win it together. Let me know down below. Was I right? Was Karen wrong, or was this just one more crazy HOA war for the history books?